Hey, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Please hit that subscribe button. Check out all of the different coverage that I'm doing here. And if you like the way that anything is being broken down, definitely hit that like button before getting off of the video. Look, the sports world is still on hold and will be for the foreseeable future. So I'm taking some of this downtime to check into some different entertainment topics, and I'm gonna talk about a new album that I'm digging, as well as a series, a TV series that I was able to check out over the weekend. So let's start with the album. Eric Roberson. He's kind of an unsung guy the last several years, but he played an integral role in the neo soul movement. In the aughts, and he's got a pretty deep catalog. I like that he's a writer, producer. I think he plays some instruments, and it's kind of like just a self sufficient artist. So, like I said, he's never really broken out in a way, but he definitely makes some good music almost every year, and I would strongly suggest going back and checking out the joint project from maybe 2 or 3 years ago that he had out with Fonte Coleman from Little Brother and the Foreign Exchange. Fonte Coleman or Fonte, as you might know him, is a really dope rapper, one of the better rappers out there, and they did a joint project a couple of years ago that this new record is kind of an extension of. So Eric Roberson, the new album is called Here From Here, HEAR from Here, HERE. It's 10 songs. Supposedly he's made this and completed this over the last 4 weeks or so. Just came out last week. It's like I said, it's 10 songs, and it's all kind of him. He said that he was inspired over the last several weeks to sit down and just make some music, and then it all came together when he finished, and he has these 10 songs, and it's just about everybody working through the current situation with COVID-19 and the way that our world has significantly changed, since the shelter in place and a quarantine period has started. Really quickly, man, some of the highlights are it really gets off to a great start with the first two joints on there, Road to Recovery and Omaha. Road to Recovery is just this whole album. He mentioned he wanted people to feel good and be around the house singing and dancing, and that's exactly what you can do on Road to Recovery, the opener. It's kind of synths and but synth driven, but a nice beat. It kind of sounds like Tainted from Slum Village to me in just a little bit. But he just gets into talking about, he has a line in there. He's rapping a little bit more than singing on this one. But he's talking about guys don't be talking about their feelings, and kind of just encouraging people to tap into all of this stuff and to deal with it and not sit here and be compressed. And basically for me, man, if you can't bounce your shoulders, snap your fingers, and rock out to this one, then maybe you just can't find happiness. The second joint, Omaha, I kind of don't understand where what the title of the song means, because he's from New Jersey, I believe. But Omaha, the beat is fire. I like that it's a mix of aggressive sounds for an R&B joint. He has some different little noises and popular ad libs that I hear in a lot of the current, radio music, and it's more rapping from him. But I think in the chorus he's talking about on my heart, and I think just slurring his words is what Omaha is on my heart. And then he repeats the second line in the chorus is Omaha, and then the first line is something about on my heart or you're on my heart, and then he says Omaha. So I think he's just playing around with kind of like the whole mumble rap stuff right there. But I enjoyed both of those a whole lot. Track number 5, Already Knew You, is I think this is the first slower song on here. Sounds like it's some live drums in there on here. I like that the song is kind of broken up. It kind of builds or slows down and builds back up. it gets away from that cookie cutter feel of a lot of music that's just 3 minutes and 50 seconds or something. This kind of does some different things, changes up its dynamics a little bit. It's kind of about love at first sight and a man sharing long term promises to a new encounter. Also, some other last few ones that I really liked on here. The second half of the album of the 10 songs are kind of more ballads or slower songs, it seems like. Used to be a real popular thing back in the day with music, you know, especially on cassettes. The first side of or side A would be all up tempo or all slow music, and then the outside B would be the opposite. But here also like Hope Will Have to Do, which is song number 8. It's an acoustic guitar. Just kind of a man being vulnerable and kind of longing for companionship and looking for someone to spend moments like this with and have each other's back and whatnot. I really dug that one. Number 9 is Please Stay Around. Another good sing-along song. I really like the chorus. Like I said, if you sing out in the house, man, it's one that you can join in with. A little short though. I really, for as much as I did like this song, but again, it's a guy just asking, a woman to stay in his life, to remain by his side, and let's work through whatever. So I really appreciate that one. And then song number 10, Shining, is kind of like a good send off for the album. Just encouraging people, find some things to stay positive about while we're going through this. And the song is something about the sun will return, we'll all rejoice. And, on the other side of this thing, life will get back to what we know as normal living. So, like I said, check out the project. I thought it was admirable of him and any artist, to really tap into what's going on currently. And I just think it's dope that somebody can sit back and churn out an album, make it be relevant, and give us their interpretation of this moment or how they're overcoming, the adversity that everybody is facing. So check out Here From Here. You can stream it if you don't want to buy it. It's I listen to it on Amazon Prime. You can probably catch it on YouTube. But check the brother out if you like different forms of music. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, the series that I had a chance to watch, which I kind of didn't know how I was going to check it out. But right now, you might be able to take advantage of a free month of Epix premium cable channel. It's kind of underneath Star, just like lower on the rung in terms of all of the premium cable channels. But take advantage of that free period or that trial period. I think it's 30 days. And I was able to check out Godfather of Harlem. I heard about it a couple months ago and I didn't know. I didn't want another subscription, but I did want to check it out and see what it was about. But Godfather of Harlem is actually, if you remember Hoodlum from back in the day, when Lawrence Fishburne played Bumpy Johnson, this is kind of an extension of that. ForestWhitaker steps in to be Bumpy Johnson, and this is when he comes home from he was actually locked up in Alcatraz, took a drug case that he took. He didn't squeal, and he was sent away for 11 years. So he comes back to Harlem, and he has he finds that he's lost control of his neighborhood, Harlem, and the Genovese family, headed up by Vincent D'Onofrio, is now calling all the shots over there. And so he goes to work right away with regaining his independence, with Harlem and the black population that's there. He believes that, some outside forces shouldn't be, capitalizing off of these people and calling all of the shots. So he goes to work to take the mob down, at least in Harlem. But it's called the Godfather of Harlem because he's worked alongside the mafia for years, for several decades. And so that's the gist of it. It also stars Vincent D'Onofrio, as I mentioned, as his main antagonist. Paul Sorvino is, a familiar dude in these mafia-related movies or shows. There's also Chaz Palminteri, A Bronx Tale. What was his name? Sonny. I think his name was Sonny in A Bronx Tale. Ilfinesh Hedera plays ForestWhitaker's wife, Mamie. Nigel Thatch plays Malcolm X. Giancarlo Esposito is also involved. He plays a congressman slash local pastor at a church in Harlem. So obviously some big names are attached to some decent performances. Disney and ABC are behind this. Joe Chappelle directed about 4 episodes. He was also involved with The Wire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Fire. And then he also did some of the Fringe series from back in the day, which aired on Fox. Speaking of those 2 standout performances, I really didn't know about the storyline of Malcolm X in this project. But very early on, you see Nigel Thatch, who actually played Malcolm X in Selma. And he's an obvious pick to play Malcolm X because of his look, especially with his haircut, his skin tone, and when you put him in glasses, he damn near, he really resembles Malcolm X. But I think it's a chance for him where he really stands out. I think the biggest thing that he's done previously was probably back in the day. He played the football player Leon and spoke of himself in first person I can't remember what the commercial was, but it was a series. I think it may have even started during the Super Bowl, and he was just a narcissistic football player. And he's made some different appearances throughout the year, but I feel like he really gets to tap in and really showcase his acting skills in portraying Malcolm X, who works with Bumpy Johnson throughout the project, heading up the mosque in Harlem, and it's an intriguing part of the season 1. Also, Antoinette Crowe Legacy plays Elise, who is Bumpy's daughter. That's actually the mother of Bumpy's younger daughter, who is in the series. Margaret, but Elise was a heroin fiend. She's been in the streets and been using heroin for over 10 years or something, and so that's another storyline where Bumpy reconnect, and he takes her to Malcolm X to help her get off of heroin, and I just think Antoinette Crowe Legacy just really plays a good role. I just like her performances and when she's on camera. And she gradually she submits or converts to Islam and is under the tutelage of Nigel Thatch's Malcolm X. They deal with some different things that are going on with the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad is also in here. Played by a veteran actor, and I just didn't expect to see this. Of course, they've embellished some stuff, with the relationship between these two, between Malcolm and Bumpy, but I think it's an interesting part of the show to watch. Some positive things about season 1 is it has a scoring of 8 out of 10 on imdb.com, and then it's also sitting at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's been well received by viewers and critics. So that helped with the fact that it's been, according to a Deadline article dated February 20th, Epix President Michael Wright came out and announced that it'd be renewed for season 2, which I think where it left off. At the end of season 1 is when Malcolm X has been excommunicated, or he's been silenced. He's received that 90 days of silence in the wake of his comments with regards to the death or the assassination of John Kennedy. The whole roosters or chickens coming home to roost comment, and so he's leaving that. he's leaving the Nation of Islam at the end of season 1, and then Bumpy he's traded punches with the heads of the 5 families, and it's kind of a draw at this point by episode 10, but it's set up for he's with Bumpy has kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, but it's still up in the air of what he can do next, because it's 1 against 5 families. So the president of Epix said that his quote was, "The show was brought back. It was never a doubt that it was gonna be renewed for a season 2." But he cited that the show was tripling previous viewership numbers for the network. So I'm guessing week to week, the show's viewership picked up, and like I said, it's scheduled. It was scheduled to start filming in late 2020 in NYC. Obviously, right now with the COVID-19 situation going on and hitting NYC hard, and kind of being an outlier or the epicenter of negative news and negative developments. Who knows how New York comes out of that to get back to business, and how that impacts all kind of TV and film that takes place in New York City. So that's pretty much it, man. I would suggest checking it out. I don't know if I would give it a 91% or 8 out of 10. But and like I said, it's a lot of dope selling, prostitution, dope fiends, a lot of mob hits and gun violence and all of that type of stuff. It is a lot of that, but it's also, they do take the time, like I said, the historical references, the historical figures that are involved. They do take the time to weave some of this together in a believable manner, or one that's somewhat captivating. So I would suggest checking it out. I'd be very interested to hear what you think about the show, and whether or not you're optimistic for it. Based on the timeline, I guess the one I'll close with, I'm wondering, obviously, what happens with Bumpy going into season 2 and him against Vincent D'Onofrio. But also, do we see the arrival of Frank Lucas from American Gangster? I believe Frank Lucas was Bumpy Johnson's driver, was the story when American Gangster came out. I think there was some speculation or questions around how accurate that was, but it'd just be interesting to see if Frank Lucas does pop up, and how they who they would pick to play, Frank Lucas, and just how, various individuals from that time period. This is in the mid 60s, I believe. And, it'd just be interesting to see how they add on to the show and how many seasons they could get out of it. So that's it, man. Oh, my one negative on it. I'm not a fan of the hip hop being used as the soundtrack of the series. I'm not so down on the Swizz Beatz and Rick Ross opening, introduction song. It is what it is. But throughout the episodes, hip hop is also used, and a lot of some other modern hip hop leaning music, auto tune and all of that type of stuff. I don't really care for that, to be honest, but I understand it. So that's it, man. Holla at me. Like I said, my name is Wood. Like always in these things, man, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.